Welcome back to another episode of This Week in ZA, the podcast where we dive into the world of software engineering over a slice of pizza. I'm Kodad, here with my co-host Chad on the other side there. And every week we sit down with guests from the industry to talk culture, projects, and everything in between while enjoying some good food. Today's guests are Nate and Kyle from Rave Technology. And the pizza is I already forgot the name, but it's the Buffalo Chicken Alfredo, something with cream cheese something. From Ramos again to continue the thread of season 2 of This Week in ZA.
Nice.
So stick around to hear some good insights, share a laugh, maybe you get a little bit hungry. Let's grab a slice and get into it.
All right, start with our standard question. What is your biggest mistake in your career? What would you, and preferably your funniest mistake, if it is your biggest mistake. If it's not funny, maybe choose the funnier one.
Okay. Kyle, I'll let you go first.
Okay, this is usually out of order for us, right?
Yeah, I know.
Normally you're the talker, but
I know.
But I did my homework, so I'm prepared, and maybe have more mistakes too. So it was pretty easy. So basically, back at KZ Co., which is where Nate and I met and started working. I was an electrical engineer at the time, and our biggest customer then, and still probably is now, but was John Deere. And we made motorized valves, actuators for valves for them. And obviously a huge OEM customer. Business was extremely dependent, probably 80% of the business went to them. So super critical customer and servicing them. Well, in electronics, as happens, you run out of, you can't source a part. Right? Mm-hmm. So you have to find a replacement. And this was really kind of in the early days when the testing was not sophisticated and just the relationship was not there. So even understanding what was driving us, it was not known. It was just kind of, hey, here's a valve and it works here and it should work for you guys, right? And it had, and they built up their business for several years. Anyways, so my job was to find a replacement capacitor, which should be fairly standard and simple, and it typically is. I mean, it's something that does happen a fair amount. And a capacitor is a fairly standard part. Lots of people make them, and you can find replacement. Anyways, I found one that was available, met the requirements, and in fact was better by an engineering assessment, better capacitor, lower ESR. So we get it in, we update our boards, and we just ship them out and say, okay, everything's good. Because, in our system, it works, everything's in our testing is fine. Well, as you cycle through, they sit at John Deere for a while, so you build more. So we got a bunch build up, and by the time they put them on their machine, they come back and say, hey, these aren't working. And nobody can figure out why. And all of a sudden you dig into it, well, this better capacitor actually did not work with their control system. And the reason being is whoever designed their driver circuit, it was not a very good design, but it basically could not charge the capacitor fast enough. So it would trip out the supply and shut down the controller because lower ESR means the capacitor can deliver and receive more power quickly. And it wasn't even that much of a difference. However, just enough. And just, it's part of not knowing, not fully understanding the specifications or what's driving your products, but also not having the actual equipment to test it. So in all realities, as an engineer, I picked a better part, turned out to be a problem. And the thing that really made this problem, obviously it's our biggest customer, but is people don't understand, what actually happens. And then the myth grows because it's such a pain point, because you got to go send people, fix all the parts that are already there.
Was that one of the ones, was that the recall? Or do we have to just?
It wasn't a recall
Okay.
because the machines had not left yet. So, but it was
Probably close.
right. It's similar, but it's a recall for our product because they had a whole bunch of them sitting in their lots that we had to go fix out in the cold outside. And so it's painful, and it just lived for years, right? As when anytime there was a change or something, even that wasn't remotely even close to this, it'd be a QC guy or a sales guy or somebody that, well, I don't want another capacitor problem, right?
Kind of lived on, right?
And I had to listen to that for years, right? And I'm like, has nothing to do with that. But it was painful, and it was painful for several years.
Ted from episode 14, I think it was, he was talking. He has this infamous vacuum cleaner story where he was vacuum cleaning in the server room, doing something that was good, helping out, keeping things clean, and it took down the breaker for all the servers running. So that that's kind of his infamous
That's all.
story. Yeah,
Because that plug was on the same circuit.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
And so that was kind of his one that just kept coming back up. He talked about that a little bit in there as
Yeah.
well. But yeah.
Nice.
And it's kind of really a reason why, if you ever have to work with an old engineer, they become prickly a little bit, and it's experiences like that, and they have their ways of doing things and trying to get them this. And the understanding is they've been through things like that. They've been out in the cold on weekends, tearing things apart. They've had to listen to people say for years, just.
Is this another capacitor problem?
Right. Yeah. And so you just get to the point where you don't want to change things, because once it's working,
Once you know that that's
you
good.
yeah.
Yep.
If you've never gone through it and you never designed anything, you don't realize how many things can go wrong. Right. I mean, and things you can't even think of, honestly.
That pain of integration, all the parts look good until you put them together. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, never mind.
Right.
Yeah, you could have tested that all you wanted and shown it being fine.
Right.
And never reproduced that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And people think, well, it's simple to produce stuff. Well, and once it's done, it's done. Things aren't ever done.
Yeah.
Right.
Problem. Parts go out of service all the time.
They do. They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nate, I'm very confident you have some good mistakes.
Yeah. What's funny is it took me, because Kyle kind of gave me a little heads up on what this. So I've been thinking about it, and it was actually something that you'd brought up. So this was fairly on in my career at same company, KZ Co, developing motorized actuated valves, and I'm on the mechanical side. So usually on the way that we develop products, mechanicals, just the way that the company was, kind of led the projects as they were coming out. Well, we had this new product that we were developing, and it was a different size. It was getting us into a different sales category, and was driven by a major customer, and they ended up being our number 2 customer for the company, and a global company, Fortune 500, and they were kind of, driving some of the sales, but we also were developing it to get into different categories. Well, I was leading that project, 50 some brand new parts, some injection molded, all these different parts coming together, and one big thing that we put our staple on was waterproof, tough, actuated valves, because all of our competitors couldn't hold up to our quality. That was one thing that set us apart, and that's what got us into places like these big customers like John Deere, and set us apart from even people that have been out there for decades before us. And so that was a big staple, and a senior engineer that I had learned a lot from. He was there for ended up being 30 some years. He was there. I had kind of taken this project on and wanted to be a little different. I want to design this.
So this
project.
goes back to my point: is an old engineer that says, "Let's not change anything." Right.
I'm always kind of the guy that wants to push the boundaries
something new.
and do something different. Like, well, why are we doing it this way? Why have we done it this way? And so that's kind of the way I was in my career. And on this project, I was changing up the way we had done the sealing of the case. It was different than what we'd done on previous ones, proven, tested, and I was like, this is going to work. I had my own calculations. And we get to the end, and we get these crazy tough tests that we put our products through that are kind of different and kind of secret because of the way we test them, because that's how we make sure that they can go out and sit underwater and run and actuate. Well, the owner of the company, he was like, they were questioning the way I was doing the design, and I'm like, there was a meeting that we all had, and senior engineer was in there, and owner of the company was in there, and I was like, I sat in that meeting, and I don't know exact word for word what I said. I don't know if you were in that meeting or not, Kyle. But I said, I will bet my job on this design and this seal. And I threw it out there, and I was like, I'm shaking hands right now. I'm going to bet my job that this works and does it. And me being this confident, cocky, younger engineer, I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is why not? I'm confident in my job right now. So we go through all this testing, and we're all sitting around, like we've had engineering team, we had owner, we had president, sitting around these after they come out of the test, chambers to really tell, like, did this work? Luckily, they come out and they ended up passing that test. So I ended up keeping.
Okay.
I mean, it was like a company-wide, we're watching.
Everybody
this,
knew.
right?
Everybody knew. Like everybody had heard that Nate had bet his job.
Nate might not be here tomorrow.
Yeah, Nate bet his job on this. That this
Was
would
there
work.
side bets people betting?
Yeah, I'm sure there was. I'm sure Kyle and electrical engineers were totally having fun with this. And so because it was a big deal, and it was kind of towards the end, and I'm like, there was so much money invested. I mean, to get a product to this point, we're spending $500,000 just on tooling and investment, like R&D, that goes into it, not including anything else. And so it's like there's a lot of money that gets invested for me to put all that in. And luckily, it was calculated, but I think the mistake in that is that I learned was, and the more I grew as an engineer was that, the mistake of putting your job on the line, and being so confident, because things can go. I mean, we know this in engineering. We're dealing with it today. I mean, we've been developing products and engineering for, 35, 40 years combined, and things can happen. And, for you to go, you should never know as an engineer. And you get same with software or, product
Things go
development.
wrong all the time for
Things go
no
wrong.
reason that makes sense.
And so I think the biggest mistake I had in that was that, and I learned from that, because even the guy, my owner, pulled me aside and he said, after all this had went down, and he's like, Nate, one thing I'm gonna teach you, and give you some feedback on is like, you can be confident in what you do, but like, don't make the mistake of being too confident and cocky for what you're doing, because you can always learn.
Yeah.
You can always, I think that was a big learning lesson for me in my career. Because like I said, I ended up staying, and he's like, I wasn't gonna, obviously let you go anyway. But it was a big learning thing that said, like I almost made this mistake of like, hey, you could be so confident because what if that would have went wrong?
Yeah.
Or what if I, wouldn't have learned that lesson that, hey, don't be so confident and cocky in what you do. Doesn't matter how good or how right you are, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I passed and I was able to do that. That it's just like, so I think that was the biggest mistake I ever made. It ended up working, but it helped me grow as an engineer and as a product development guy. And so I think that was one of the things. And when I look at my career, that was probably my biggest mistake, but also on the flip side, also something that helped catapult and teach me as well. So
Yeah, big learning.
Yeah, you learn from your mistakes.
it's all about, yeah.
All right, what do we got for pizza here, Kodad?
Yeah, this is when we get into the rating of the pizza part of
Okay.
the episode. Just to give you a quick rundown on the scale, it's 0 to 10. 0
Okay.
is I don't want to eat any more of it, usually a bite or two, and then nope, that's it.
Okay.
A 10 is I'm not leaving any leftovers.
Okay.
So usually that sub 5 range, it's either a slightly subpar pizza, an average pizza is usually in the 5 to 7 range, but you get 7 to 9-ish. That's like really, really good. Would recommend. Would eat until I'm hurting on the inside.
Yeah.
But that 10 is there's no leftovers. I'm finishing this thing even if it's on my
Okay.
own. And we always make the guest rate first, so feel free.
I kind of know where I'm at, Kyle, but I'm gonna let you go first too because you shared your.
All right. So I'll preface my rating by saying this is something I'd never order on a pizza. I mean, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of those.
Yeah, which is good. So thank you. I guess not a food guy at all.
Not a food person at all?
No, I'm not.
Kyle's pretty-
And like,
he's-
if you're
he's
gonna have
meat
chicken,
potatoes.
it should be on a sandwich or fried chicken. Yeah. So
Fried
when
chicken.
people do this, and there's a great lady in Waverly. She does her own food. She's like, I put a brisket on, and it was good, but it wasn't like pizza to me. But anyways, as far as taste, it's very good. I would definitely eat it. I 7. I'm like to be generous with my ratings.
Okay.
People put work into it. The quality's good.
Yeah.
Tastes amazing.
Seven's a good pie.
I'd take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of in that, probably a 7 to 8. Like you said, Kyle. I like trying different things. I want to quantify. I know we've known each other for a long time. You were very much hey, I like simple, like meat and potatoes.
Yep.
So that's where a lot of that comes from. But like, I like to try different things. Yayas.
Oh, yeah.
I love going to
Yeah.
Yayas and kind of experimenting with pizzas. This is pretty good. I like how the cream cheese comes in. I like things spicy, so it could have been, I know there's a range and you have to kind of, but I think it could have been a little spicier in some of that little, I don't know, didn't taste a lot of the is it buffalo?
Yeah.
The buffalo
Yep.
chicken.
Buffalo chicken.
Didn't taste a lot of the buffalo. Could have been a little spicier. But overall, it's a good pizza. I'd love to have this thing fresh, like right out of the oven.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine how good that would be with the cheese just kind of melting
Yeah.
and coming off, especially with that warm, cream cheese. So I'd probably be in that 7 to 8. It's pretty good. I'd eat it. I'd probably also eat the whole thing, but I don't know if it's not like I wouldn't rate it at that level of a 10.
We just got back from Florida.
It's true. We were.
There's no more tuna left in Florida.
Yeah. We just
He
had.
ate so much tuna.
Yeah.
There's
that's
no more
true. I
what
can-
left in Florida?
Tuna.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We have this one place. It's in our contract actually that we have to go there.
It's
For the
true. He's not
customer.
lying. He's
No,
not lying.
no.
It's in the contract on the deliverables that they have to have.
Every time we go down there,
They have to take us to this restaurant
To-
and
Really?
get us this appetizer.
it's called Utiki.
Okay.
And it's an appetizer. I don't even know what it is, but it's amazing.
Sashimi tuna
Yeah.
appetizer.
He just kept ordering them.
I ended up ordering
I'm like, oh
three of those
man,
appetizers.
so we're just gonna have appetizers for our meal. No, he had a meal too.
I had
Oh,
the
and-
spicy tuna roll. Yeah.
wow.
So yeah.
I
I'm curious,
came-
well, yeah, we're go ahead.
I came back from that trip. I'm like, I can't eat for 3 days. I mean, here I am eating, but
Yeah.
but he's like, I could go, and then we get done, and it's like, oh, gotta get my dessert. He's like, there's two dessert places I want to go to too.
It's true.
So-
These are valid statements. Yeah.
The lesson here is we need to update our contract approach.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. All our customers, you must take us to
Yeah.
Yayas.
Yeah.
I must bring you Taco Bell.
Yeah. Not Taco Bell.
Reaching
Hey,
a
now.
little higher, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious where you guys, because you guys are eating a lot of these. Yeah.
We were slowly becoming pizza experts as we were eating a lot of different pizza. You want to go first?
I've always been a pizza expert. Now I'm just a professional pizza expert.
Professional. There you go.
So I'm a sucker for cream cheese. So you put cream cheese on most pies, and I'm gonna put it way up there. I do think the buffalo could have been hotter, and I do think it could have used some veg like a jalapeno or maybe even just a banana pepper.
Yeah.
Something to spice it up more and a little more crunchy, fresh bite or something.
Yeah.
Still a great pie for me. I'm going an 8.7.
8.6. Wow.
Yep.
I wouldn't have thought I'd like buffalo on pizza, but I think we've had it a couple times now.
Yep.
I really do. I think maybe it's just that I like the buffalo sauce in general. I think Ramos has one of the best crusts around, so that always just
point.
kind of helps them.
Yeah. Excellent.
This one though, I would maybe just go a 7.
Okay.
I feel like there was almost the start of a great flavor here, but I agree. Either my taste buds are just a little not sensitive enough today, but I feel like it needed a little more punch.
Yeah.
To get it over the top. If,
Yeah.
if it had a little more buffalo, maybe it would have been an 8.
Yeah.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they could go a little further. I think it's a great point, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I don't like spicy food, but I could handle that just fine. Like I didn't even hardly notice it, right? So if I don't notice it, they probably could up it.
Yeah. And I think my wife, who also can't eat spicy food, could probably actually eat this.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I think you need a little more if it has the word buffalo in it.
Yeah.
It's got to hurt a
It
little
has
bit.
to have a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. I think it could have used another, like some veggie. I think would have been good.
Yeah. I think season 4 or 5, when we circle back to Ramos, we're going to do modifications on each pie.
Well, yes.
What the recommendations were from the guests before, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we just go out of the box to get that base level experience.
No. It's a great pie though. Very, very happy with it.
Oh yeah, Ramos does it again. We're gonna have to do an average Ramos score once we
Yeah.
have a few more.
Yeah. I think I liked the one last week though better. I think I gave it
brisket.
an 8. Yeah, that was
Oh,
good.
It was like a barbecue brisket or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like some barbecue
Worked
sauce.
shockingly well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like a barbecue, like beef, like on a pizza. I love that.
It was excellent. All right, ready for the next one?
You got the next one.
Yep. Okay, so this segment's called The People Want to Know. This is when we ask you a question that comes from the audience.
Okay.
So I think our audience is mostly software engineers, just from what I choose to believe.
Yeah.
So the people want to know,
Makes sense.
what is some guidance you could give to folks that are approaching their first integration with hardware and software? So maybe they've got a good software background, but they're getting that first Arduino or they're getting that first IoT device and they want to fully integrate with it.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for those people doing that the first time?
First, I want to pause here a second. I think our number one viewer is our moms, and probably the people who watch us most, not software people. So, hi, Mom. But go ahead and continue.
Nice. Okay, there you go. That's a good plug.
Yeah,
That's a good sign. Yeah. I'll let you go with it first because I.
Right. Well, it goes back to kind of my mistake. And, so software development, right? That's in kind of a vacuum. It's going to be on your computer, and it's fairly virtual. You get, you can see the things on the screen. Get the hardware as early as you can. Test portions of it, and if you can, right, with each sensor, if you can go through and map out expected signals and then go measure it, right? Just because you get the results you want on your sensor does not mean that everything's working properly. Sometimes it's just the conditions you're in, you're getting lucky. And so really it is get testing as quick as you can, right? And then test for as many conditions as you can. Also, if you're writing the software, have somebody else test your hardware, right?
Okay.
Because how you envision your software working, right, is how you're going to write your code. You hand it to somebody different, they're going to look at this thing and they're going to use it in a completely different way. They're going to push buttons in a different sequence. They're going to put a sensor in a different location, right?
So true.
And that's a lot of times where the unexpected pops up, right? And so if you can, get it in other people's hands, get it in users' hands, right? Get it in the location. Don't leave it at your desk.
Yep.
Even then, right?
Yep.
Because you're going to get it working. There's been many times I've had something working at my desk. I take it to a customer site. Oh man, it's not working, right?
That live demo.
Yeah, and that's the last place you want to troubleshoot.
Yep.
Right, but sometimes it's unavoidable. But
Yeah. That's great advice.
Yeah. I think it's right. Like that's what I think. Just when we were working through BrewSense, right, and we were developing that, it was how many times did we find it's like you said, like you're sensing a voltage, or we're trying to use it as a trigger or a threshold, and then it's like you get out and it's like, well, in a brewery, there's all this other noise and stuff going on, and different things are happening, and it's like, well, I've written it for X, volts or whatever that amount would might be doing, but then all of a sudden, being out in the realm, it changes that. So now I'm not picking up anymore because it's not, that kind of stuff. I think was the biggest, like you said, get it out there.
even installing it, right? Because you put it on a backplane and somebody screws it in, it stretches your board, and oh my gosh, now this capacitor doesn't hold. It's problems like that.
You seem like
right?
you have capacitor issues.
I blame everything on the capacitor.
So true. Get rid of them.
My whole life would be better without them.
Yeah. But yeah, that is where test and test and test and test. Get it out in as many different applications as possible.
Because really, I want to say it's not that hard to get something to work, but it's fairly straightforward. I mean, it's involved. It takes work, but getting to work in all conditions is far more challenging.
Seeing around those corners and
Yep. It's the things you don't think of, right? It's stretching your board. It's working in moisture,
Yep.
or running next to a. We just got one, and this is an old technology. It's not our product, which is good, but it's an alarm system, a safety system that has alarm in it. And they said, oh yeah, one problem we've had in the field or complaint is when people walk by with a two-way radio, it sets our alarm off randomly. I'm like, oh, and you've lived with this for 15 years?
known bug.
Yeah, all right. But I mean, that's something you'll never find here, right? On a desk. Maybe you just won't.
Yeah.
All those environmental factors, whether it's just other hardware environments, customers' environments, or all. I a challenge for all products.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. But it's also leaning on the experience of, being out there. Because nowadays it's like, okay, yeah, you got AI that can come help you write some things here, but like AI doesn't have the experience of going into some of those places, right? Sure, it can, learn, but it's like having actual person, knowledge of, hey, this is going to go here and what we've seen over here because we've seen it happen before when making something, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
so-
the tools can help you get further faster, but they don't get you there.
No.
They're still there.
There is still you still need the human interaction of making sure that, hey, I've seen this before,
Yeah.
and make sure you test it. But
Engineer told me once, nothing ever gets easier, nothing gets simpler. You just get faster at doing it.
Yeah.
And you start seeing those issues sooner.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That is so
That's
true.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's so true.
Scene?
Scene?
Scene.
You got another question?
I'm putting those in there because I do come back and cut them.
Nice.
And then I click pictures of us grabbing pizza
Nice.
in between the scenes.
Gotcha.
All right, ready for next question?
Yes.
I got this one. Okay.
Yeah, go for
Okay, I do have a pretty good one. Yeah, we're plenty of time. All right. We've talked quite a bit, and you two have certainly a different background than we talked to a lot of people in software. And you're in software. I know Kyle's writing software. I think you've, but at the same time, you're doing a lot more like real physical type stuff. And it's pretty easy for us, software company here in Lincoln, Nebraska, to get kind of focused on just what we do or what maybe people we know do. I find it really fascinating to maybe what are others in this community doing and what are they kind of launching or doing as products. Every once in a while, you'll bump into some company doing something. You're like, holy cow, that's amazing, and you'll just never knew that they existed.
Right.
And there's a lot of those out there in the world. So I'm just kind of, if you can give us a rundown of what you guys are working on, what you're building, kind of what is going on in this community that maybe nobody even knows about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, me too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can take this
Your
one.
turn.
Yeah, okay.
I'm at my word limit for the day.
Kyle is very much not the talker. I am the, I'll talk until you turn me off. Well, that's a good point, Chad, because there's many times, even in our starter community, and getting down into, InMotion and what Brian and his teams and Scott Henderson and all them are doing, it's like, wow, that's happening here in Lincoln. It's pretty cool. But I think for us, with what we've got going on, we started inside this company, this KZ, co-company, and realized we kind of hit our limit and that we wanted to kind of go out. And so we started, Rave Technologies. And so that's kind of this, electromechanical product development. But what's been kind of cool is we've gotten into working with different customers around the country, and even, the globe, in reality. And one of the cool products that we've got coming on, coming towards the end of 2025 is we're going to start manufacturing some of the products that we're developing with our customers. So we have a customer that does gas chlorination systems, and so basically they treat, water treatment, pool treatment, anything, that they use that chlorine gas to kind of help treat, your water systems. They make them, and they're one of the biggest ones that do it. Well, we're going to start redesigning some of their products because they haven't been touched in 15, 20 years, and we're going to redevelop that for them and then start manufacturing that here in Lincoln, and making some of those products. So that's kind of something cool and fun that we're going to be doing, something that's going to get sent all around the country and the globe.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun. The other, we got some other products going on in the satellite comm space. I know you were kind of talking to Kodad about that earlier, but we got connected with a satellite company, that they're kind of behind the scenes. People sometimes know about them, but this Viasat is this, they used to sell, internet connections, for people that were out in the boonies.
People out in Wyoming, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, where you can't get anything. There's no DSL. There's no,
nothing.
Allo. There's no. But we got.
That'd be horrible.
I know, right? But they've kind of had to pivot their technology and say, well, we've got these satellites, we can send information. Well, they were like, well, why don't we start sending small packets? And so now they've kind of gotten into this D2D IoT type thing, right, where they can send information back and forth between devices. Well, we got connected with them, and We're working on some projects.
Oh, they're kind of going more the IoT route.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't get that from the earlier conversation.
Yeah, and so basically they are, they're like, well, we were selling, these systems that big, hey, I might be needing a gig a month, right, kind of thing of pass through. Well, I might have an IoT device, like a BrewSense or some of these other smaller devices. Well, I don't need to talk as much, and so they're realizing that, and there's realizing that, hey, I don't need the infrastructure of cellular or LoRa, or because you still need towers with that. Satellite, it's like I go straight down, I'm talking to device. So we're working with them right now on some devices that are going direct to the device. So we've developed some products that literally go straight from that device to the satellite and back, and we're talking through a remote platform and triggering valves and getting readings and different things, and so that's kind of fun.
That is really cool.
Yeah, they're really wanting to push that a lot, and so that's something fun. Like you're serving that's a global customer. They're all over the world, and so being able to be connected with them and be a hardware integrations partner with them and their partners at Galaxy, and that's kind of some fun things we got going on.
That is really cool. And just a side question: do you know how they get what's the process for getting a satellite up there? They have satellites. What is their
From Gurman Runkile, it's like no different than what I guess Elon's doing right now. I mean,
It is
just
and
throw
it isn't,
them-
right? And it's as we talk through this, it's just some interesting thoughts on innovation, because that's what we
Yeah.
try to do. We want to be innovators, right? And some people are like, well, Elon Musk has taken over, and he is the reason. His system is better when it comes to high speed internet access, right? I mean, it's
more likely
faster.
to say Diablo 4 on his.
Yeah. Oh, for
this
sure.
one,
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you
And why is that though? But
Well, because they have a different satellite system, so there's different levels, right? His is the LEO, the low Earth orbit, where there's lots. There's apps out there. I don't know if you know this, that you can track satellites in your sky, and if you get it, they're passing by all the time. I mean, if you put it up
nuts.
there, you'd see multiple
Crazy.
ones right now,
Yep.
right? However, the Viasats, the older systems, are geo, which means it's way high up, so it can see a lot of the Earth, and it's
like 20 to
stationary,
25
right?
miles, right? I mean, we're talking high.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so 3 satellites will cover the globe, right? And they're stationary in one spot. So you can point your satellite at it and it doesn't move, and you're always talking to that one. And in the old, their antennas were, even just the internet ones were like this.
Yeah.
And so that's not conducive to a sensor or a product, right? I don't know where I was going with this, but
Just
but yeah.
innovation and how they're
Oh yeah, so Elon comes along and he says, "Well, the internet access, I had it out in the country and it was terrible. That was my only option. Like, latency was terrible. Throughputs were just ridiculous and expensive. I use Starlink now. It works great.
Oh, you're.
I am a customer.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep, and it's fantastic.
Can you play Diablo 4 like he does on Starlink? I don't know if he does that, by the way. I just
My
don't know.
son games, but yeah, I mean, you can do game. Yeah, you can stream game. And,
what's your downloads?
I mean, my downloads were a couple hundred. I was
wow.
getting 300, but my pings were. A lot of times now, they've got so many satellites up there in the 30 milliseconds.
Oh wow, that's one of the problems is the speed
Right,
of light.
yeah.
A little bit of a
Yeah, right. So basically, that hurts. I mean, comes along. It's great for us, great for Starlink. However, Viasats, their business model is destroyed now. Well, what happens to them is they come out with this. They said, "Oh, well, now we need to do something new." And this is what the power of innovation is. It's a ripple effect, right? It's not just one company doing something better that's already out there. It's forcing other companies to find other new things to do, and that's what they're doing now. So they found a way to reduce their antenna size, reduce their power. So the advantage that they have, so Starlink, Elon's, you have to switch between satellites constantly, right? Which requires a lot of overhead. It requires a lot of power. If you're talking to one satellite and you know where it is,
and it's stationary.
it's stationary, right? So you can, once you're connected to it, right? You're connected to
It's
it.
rock solid.
Yeah, and so you don't have to have all that overhead, all that power. So now you can go to a battery-operated device and just send when you need it.
Wow.
And they found ways to, they reduced the packet size. So, I mean, we were sending 13 bytes, and that was way more than we needed, actually.
13 bytes.
13 bytes.
Wow.
That's the world I live in, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, well, what do you need for your, I mean, because we're reading the water meter, right? And basically, well, there's not much you can do. It's like you've used 5 gallons of water.
Yeah.
That's all it does. Or, I mean, you get some timestamps, but so I don't even need 13 bytes for that.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool because it's like we get connected with, and now they're trying to pivot and they're trying to be innovative.
Right.
And we got connected with them as kind of, and we should say through one of their major partners, they've got global partners.
Mm-hmm.
We're partnering with their global partner that it's serving, and we were able to develop that product, that D2D product, and showcase it at their yearly world, conference. And they were blown away. This
That's really cool.
this engineering firm from Lincoln, Nebraska,
Right.
goes and does it, showcases it, and we've got people from all Middle East and Europe and Asia, and they're like, we want that.
It's-
Right? Like you guys did this quick. You guys were able to develop it, integrate it, do all that stuff, and that's kind of the fun thing that we like doing. And Kyle and I have put together with Brave Tech is we're taking our experience. We're developing products quick. That's where we go to our customers. We're developing products. Hey, we want to speed that up because normally product development, hardware wise, and you know this from the software development side. It's like there's usually a standard. You want something this level, it's going to take this long. Well, in product development, in most cases in our realm, that could be 2 to 3 years because there's all this testing and development. Well, we're taking a lot of our experience and cutting that down into a 1-year time frame. And that's kind of what sets us apart, right? It allows customers to get there. We're leveraging experience in what we know to develop that faster. And so that's kind of fun.
And so
it's
on
got us
top of
connected
that,
with
yeah.
people with
And-
like Viasat.
And you think, well, why is this company, this small little company in Nebraska, working with a global company, right? Because don't they have 5-6 engineers, right?
Yeah, they got a lot more, yeah,
But
right.
the truth is, they're spending so much time on this. By the time they signed off and said, yeah, we want to show this at our show, it was about 3 weeks away from the show. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
We're like, oh yeah, here's the technology, and I did some background work. I got a development
You
kit.
knew about it.
and I was able
yeah.
to kind of connect and say, well, no, I wasn't able to. That's another story.
Yeah, we won't even get that.
I
That's
wasn't able to
cool.
connect
Yeah.
because the satellite wasn't working over Nebraska.
They found
which
it. Yeah.
we didn't realize until the show because I'm like, am I doing something wrong? And the first time, right? I can't. And the people in Florida are like, well, this code's working, and Lincoln, I'm like. I swear it's the same thing, but
We
it's
found like a
somewhere-
little pocket of like 25 square miles. Of
But
like,
basically,
it was not
right over my house.
Yeah, right. Well, places, right?
Everywhere
Well,
else it
where
works.
you're
Yeah.
trying to do development.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, it was 3 weeks, and most people, anybody in a big company would say no,
Can't do it.
can't do it next year,
Yep.
But here we are. We'll say sure, yep, we'll do it. And when we flew out there, it was not working here, right? Because we didn't know why, but
And then you
turns
got there,
out
it just magically works.
it really did. It connected almost immediately, and then everything took off, and it's like, oh my gosh.
But that's why they're coming to
But yeah, that's how, right? I mean, that's the power of small groups. That's
lean,
power of not getting bogged down with regulations, processes, and management, right? It's and so that's where we can win, and
It's really helping
it's
us to set
just-
us apart and
yeah.
help us get some of these
yeah,
these
it's just
customers.
interesting. Like I said, Viasat doesn't do this without Elon doing Starlink because they're fat and happy, right? And they have no reason to do this. So that trickles down to us.
You're trying to find new markets there. And one of the things you two probably have a huge advantage with as well. One, experience, but I also sometimes there's this natural alignment of people with slightly different roles. If both of you were electrical engineers or both mechanical, this probably wouldn't have happened. But
Yeah.
you kind of have to have a little bit of both to kind of create those innovative products. Sometimes those integrations of people, that are with different skills is also critical.
Yeah. Well, it's like they say in the startup realm. It's like that's why you're supposed to have 2 to 3 founders that need to come from different backgrounds, right? Like you got to be pushing each other. Kyle and I known each other since 2008, so 17 years. So and so like we've known each other a long time. but that doesn't mean that we agree on everything.
Yeah.
And we push each other, and that's kind of the fun thing. But I guess that's a long story short, is that's kind of some cool fun things that being connected with some of these bigger companies around the country that we're able to develop for, and because we're able to develop lean and quick and fast, they're like, well, how about you start manufacturing for us? And it's kind of that. So that's some of the fun things. We're going to start doing that here later this year. The plan is to start manufacturing products for the Florida company and start making those. And so that's
You'll have to let us all come tour your factory once it gets up.
yeah,
and rolling.
it'll be very
Yeah.
short.
But
tour.
yeah, I mean, our niche is kind of small
Yeah.
electromechanical devices. Generally, we're really good at putting stuff in harsh conditions. And Nate's can handle that. We don't want anything really big. And again, it's mostly hardware. We're doing a touch screen, which is, the fun thing about this is every project's something new, and I've been doing this for, I don't even know, I'm so old I forget, but I was still Sunday night, just sitting on a computer, and I'm like, this is stressful, but it's not really, because it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's something new. This touch screen, the way they do it, it's pretty intense. I'm not a software guy who's like you guys are, but still, it's a component. However, this is getting a little bit intense. I mean, for the touch screen program, there's 3,500 files to run that thing when you're compiling it. I'm like, are you serious?
It's not as bad as the number of NPM packages in any spa, but that's
right. But I mean, just for a touch, and the sad thing that people, that's why I like talking to people that have done it and understand how complex. I was telling Nate this, like we're going down to show our customer, and the water industry is very old. The people are old. The young guys are 65.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking.
That's true. That's so true.
It really is. They're
you guys
all
are kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were kids. Yeah.
They're all half retired, and we're going to retire 5 years ago, but they don't. Anyways, so they're not, super tech. And so we have this product, and like I said, there's 3,500 files. It's a touch screen. There's a circuit board there. You got a case and everything put together there. We got a separate actuator. We got a sensor. We got an e-stop button. I mean, lots of parts to it. And each one of those has its own circuit board and software and case. And I mean, it's just a ton of work just to get this done. So we're going to present it, the first MVP, and I'm going to do a video Sunday night. And I'm like, man, finally it's going, it's working. And so I go to do this video, and I'm like, okay, what can I show here? And really, the system's it's a safety shutoff system for chlorine gas, right? Chlorine gas tanks. If there's a leak, chlorine will kill you, right? So this is an actuator that sits on the tank.
Very
Has a
important,
sensor,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it senses a leak and shuts the tank off. So, I mean, all these parts. But then I go and I'm like, well, what does it actually do? I'm like, okay, so I push the button to turn the valve on, and then I push the button to turn the valve off, and I'm like, it's kind of the whole system. So if you're outside,
Well, you're underplaying that. It's a 10-inch screen. There's more on that.
Oh,
you
there's
cool
hours
pictures
and
and
hours
stuff.
and hours
yeah.
of engineering. But then when you go to display it, and so imagine myself sitting in this room with these old guys, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so excited about this system, and let me show it to you. And they're like, oh, okay. Anything else? I mean, there's the e-stop button, the alarms, but
Which you guys get. I mean, that's the same thing for you guys. I mean, how much work goes behind all the code that sits behind a lot of these websites or applications, and it's like, okay, I click a button, it does this.
Just sometimes one button
Yeah.
could be 3 weeks of effort.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
easily.
right.
No
Like,
kidding.
this
Yeah.
one button did
And it
everything.
was.
Yep. And nobody sees it. They're just
Nobody
seeing the one button. It's like, or
Just
they,
a
they
button.
see this isn't
Yeah.
displaying right, or it's like this.
Yeah.
It's like you realize that.
Just make it do the thing.
it
Yeah,
really-
right, exactly.
really took
Yeah.
you 2 months to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
It
hard
did.
to try to get that, that selling of like, why is this worth it? Well, it's like, it's the same thing with software or hardware development. It's like, there's so much that goes behind. We had the customers down there. It's like, well, you guys are going to be done developing that thing in July. Then why are we doing our contract or whatever, through December? And it's like, well, yes, just because it's done does not mean it's ready for manufacturing. And then it's like we're making the thing and we're doing it. It's like, there's more to that. But they're like, oh,
I see it.
It's done, right?
Yeah,
It's like, so you said it's done and I can start selling it. Okay, you can start taking orders, yes.
Yeah.
So it's done. No, it's not done.
Yeah.
We have to manufacture, we gotta get molds, we gotta get, all the parts.
So that's
ready.
always the fun thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's the cool thing with Lincoln is that we have the opportunity. Our cities, the city, backs it. We got a lot of good people that push that. I'm just thinking of all these companies, like CSS. We know Perry and his team, and like what they're doing and things they're making that are going around all around the globe. For communication systems and police, departments and stuff like that. So it's like just cool to think about all this opportunity that we have as developers, as engineers, as product people in Lincoln, and the support we get. From our the city and government and the people around that. So it's kind of cool that we push that to Silicon Prairie.
Yes.
Because I push a lot of, I put a lot of what we, our drive and us opening our eyes to this was when we were able to, funny enough, spend a lot of time downtown when we were working with you guys on BrewSense. We got to be really in the startup community down at DPL Labs down in
Haymarket.
the Haymarket back in the day. I say back in the day, which probably, was that 3-4 years ago?
Well, we've been here since October, and we were in our previous location for 4 years. I think
6 years ago?
So wow.
Yeah, so we've been like 6 years ago. I think it's 2018, 2019. It was pre-pandemic.
That's crazy to
I
think
know
about.
that.
But that spurred it. Being around people that are like driving, pushing, questioning, like a lot of that spurred me and kind of go like, well, yeah, let's do more. Like there's a gap in some of this hardware, product development here in Lincoln, and we're seeing that, and so we're trying to serve that and serve customers nationally and globally. So it's kind of fun.
No, it is. It's a blast building new things.
Yeah.
Solve puzzles. That's what we do.
Yep.
Outro?
Outro.
Yeah. Before we go, we need a pizza recommendation for both of you for our next episode or two. Oh boy.
I told Nate about this, and
Oh,
he
you
has
did?
to do it. Well,
I'm really disappointed in you, Kyle, for helping. He didn't do his homework, and you're helping him. Don't do that again.
that's why we work well together.
Yeah, that is so true. That is very true.
Very
That's why we've been able to work together.
I knew Nate wouldn't be ready.
But and the reason why I said he had to pick one because I do have one. However, you can't get it. Well, it's a secret pizza. No, it's not a secret pizza. The guy's dead. So growing up, grew up in Ashland, and they have Bread O Pizza, which you don't
I've had
see
that.
too many of those around. And the guy, and this is kind of a, as you think about it, it could be just a lesson in life. Like are your memories better, or was it really that good?
Nostalgia factor.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I was trying to think about why I love this pizza so much. We'd get it on snow days from when we were in high school. So good memories.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we don't have to go to school, and we're going to hang out and play games or whatever. You're down at the bar playing cribbage at the Legion. Just being around friends. And so we'd always get this pizza, and I don't know. I think the go-to was a spicy Italian sausage with mushrooms, and I get it now for my kids and even me. I'm like, I got to sell it because I'm like, this is great pizza, and it's different ownership. I mean, good people, and it's good, but it's I don't know. It's not the same, right? And it probably has more to do with the events that happened when I was eating it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
right.
That's part of it, though. That's what's eating and dining,
absolutely.
is the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I bet you guys probably haven't had Bread O's.
I have. I've been to Ashland a few times, and I've
Okay.
actually had that pizza at least once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
It was good. I don't remember like blowing me away.
Yeah.
No, I get it now, and my family would not rate it high. I just get it just because.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
If I
more
lived in
memories than
Ashland,
anything,
I'd probably eat it
For sure.
occasionally and be
Yep.
like, oh, let's go eat some of that. But
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to, I think something we were kind of talking, off air about was the Raymanos, and it's driving me nuts with the name of it because we haven't got it in a long time, and it makes me sad now just rethinking why we haven't had it in a while. My family, but I know it's not the Reuben, but it's like a beef, and it's got like
it's got sauerkraut.
Parmesan, and I want to say it has some sour, but it's not. But it doesn't have the Italian dressing on it. It's actually got the marinara.
No.
And so it is different. I'm trying to remember what they call it, but there's this beef and like sauerkraut
Is it
with
corned
Parmesan
beef or beef?
No, it's like an actual hamburger, like
Okay.
beef.
Okay.
with the marinara, and they've got a name for it. I can't think of what they call it, but it's not the Reuben. They have a good Reuben too, but this one is like every time I have it, I'm eating the whole. Like the thing is, you get a 10-inch, I'm eating the whole thing,
Okay.
and I love it. And
Wow.
I'm eating the whole thing. And
So it's a 9 or a 10.
Oh yeah, I get it, and I love it, and I will eat the whole thing. It's that like it's just the mixture of the, like they have some sprinkled on Parmesan with the marinara with the beef, but then you've got this like the sauerkraut or like whatever they have on it. It's gonna drive me nuts what the name is, but it'll be easy to pick out if you guys go to the Romano's menu and find it. But
We'll play them the episode.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh yeah, that one.
yeah, exactly that one. Yeah.
We'll play them the episode, like they have to watch the whole thing. Like the person waiting there.
You
When you
gotta hit
get
the like
to the
button
part
first.
about the pizza.
Yeah.
Fine. Food age.
Yeah.
All right, here's our final question. If we want to start a construction company,
No,
what
don't.
advice will you give to us?
Don't.
We need a longer answer than that. Otherwise it's not much
There's
of a
not a lot of
post-credits.
answers.
Really don't.
Really don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I keep joking. Bill and I keep joking. We're starting Dumb and Dumber Construction, D&D Construction, and we're not going to. But what would be your advice? If
I don't know. It's so funny because we got into construction as kind of like we were doing engineering at the time, and we're like we wanted to have another business to kind of run because why not have multiple businesses at the same time, right? We learned a lot in how do you navigate, how do you handle employees, what do you do? I will say this about construction. Construction's something that'll never go away.
Yeah.
And something, especially when it comes to whether it's remodels or trim carpentry. I mean, robots can do a lot of things. You can automate a lot of things, but you can't automate trim carpentry. You can't automate cabinet installs, right? Like, and so I think that's something that's an industry that if you want to get into and you're good at taking care, if you do what you say you're going to do, and you know what your margins need to be in that industry, you can make good money because people, you have people you trust. You complete the work. You do it for what you say you're going to do. It's a good industry. Not saying that I would never go back into it if we, continue going on and make more money with, what we're doing now, and we have some spare time, which who knows. But it's a good industry to be in because you get to interact with people. You get to see jobs go from nothing to something.
That is nice. That is nice.
It's kind of fun, It's you see the physical. A lot of times when we do stuff, it's like, oh, okay, it's a little. It's behind the scenes, but
There's opportunities, and it desperately needs some innovation. And the reason I
does, yeah.
say that is there's people now that'll tell you they can't build a new house for less than $400,000.
Yep.
And how in the world is that sustainable, right? We're going to end up with a couple people owning a bunch of apartments or
Yeah.
rentals, right?
yeah.
And that's not good. I mean, most people, their biggest investment is going to be their house, right?
Yeah.
And so we got to figure out. And if you drive through Lincoln, it's amazing how many sub 1,000 square foot houses there are.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I
Right.
didn't realize how many in some of these neighborhoods.
I never
It's
noticed
crazy.
it, so I started paying attention, and I'm like, yeah, they're all over.
Yep.
And that used to be kind of the standard, and you made it work, right? And so we kind of got to, I think we're going to have to figure out how to do that efficiently, and start getting stuff where you can buy a house again for $200,000. That's, decent, right?
Yeah. It's going to take, like you said, disruption. Because it's the reason why from what we've learned in the industry is like, well, because everybody's been doing this for the last 40, nothing's really changed. You go, put the concrete, then you frame it, and then you do, there's all these standard steps. It's like, well, nobody's thought from the outside as innovators, as disruptors, as people questioning, well, why are you doing it that way? Why can't you do it this way? So it's going to take some of that, and we've talked about it.
Yeah, and as the
outsiders.
product guys, I mean, the biggest thing is our market for it, and I think all the feelers we put out and everybody we talk to is like, and 200 is probably low, but 250,000. If you could get, an 800 square foot house for $250,000, and we just had people saying, yeah, can I get it now? And that's usually a good indicator that, hey, there's a market segment that's being missed.
Yeah.
The other thing in construction is it's such a wide array of choice, and customers too. Like there's people that just don't want to spend like any money. They want a whole kitchen for $10,000. I think. And there's people that could service that, right? Now there's people that want high-end new tech on everything, and they're willing to spend $100,000 on a kitchen. Find where your niche is going to be, and be really good at it, right? And then the other thing, to set yourself apart, it's sad to say the construction industry is show up.
Yeah.
Show up. I mean, it's literally that simple. If you go talk to people who've done remodels, I've called 15 people and some people have gotten back to me. Most people haven't. Right? I mean, there's a
So
lot of
true.
times we were very successful on, I mean, a pretty high hit rate, just because we had a process, we followed through and said, here's what the process is going to look like. We're going to take pictures along the way. It's going to be, there's not a lot of organization. There is, but there isn't. I don't want to talk too badly about it, but coming from an engineering world where you have to be extremely organized for very big projects, I'd say there's opportunity for improvement in being organized. And customers always like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to not be able to keep track of where you are in the process, right? And people need to understand if they don't pick out this faucet, it's going to delay. You know, it can delay electricians, plumbers, and everything else. And if you don't communicate that, then they're mad at you, saying, "Why is my project taking 3 months longer?" Right.
What is the number one cost? Is it labor? Is it parts? It's kind of a mixture.
At this point, labor is tough.
Labor's tough.
Yeah.
It's
Good labor.
Yeah, I think it was, we were about I think I figured about 80-20. We were, when it came to subs versus our actual materials on a job. Materials are, they go like this, The thing is, we've seen this too, is like when COVID and everything happened and people started getting paid more, those people's rates stayed up there, right?
Yeah, they never came back.
They never came back down, right? Materials will do this.
Commodity type.
Yeah,
What's
it's like
commodity?
the lumber and everything else, or
Yeah.
hardware, for your kitchens or baths or whatever. But it's the labor. It's like once a plumber starts charging $120 an hour,
It's 100.
he's not gonna drop that. He's like, I have to pay my guys more, so that doesn't drop. So like it's that continual subs / labor that just keeps going up, and that's not gonna come down. And which is why you've seen, I mean, it's like you said, Kyle. I mean, you're spending, somebody wants to just redo a house, hey, I want to add this, do this, a couple $100,000, just like that. So
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
long credit, sub credits or whatever.
Well, that's all. They're always
Post credits,
like
whatever.
that. I'm gonna make sure Bill sees this one,
Okay.
and I'm gonna cut out your early statement.